Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and today we're going to be working on an older Daiwa reel. This one is the Daiwa Saltist 20HA. It's a Levelwind reel. It's a 6.1 to 1 gear ratio and a nice narrow frame, braid capable. This one is one of 4 reels that Teddy sent me. And well, one of the things that I got here is says it has a free spool problem. Well, let's put it in the free spool, and look what's happening. The handle's turning. Well, that's usually a sign that there's an issue with dirt and grease, or perhaps a bad spring. Sometimes it seems to work, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, so there you go. Now it's kind of back in free spool issue. So it's a tight free spool, and we want to find out what's causing that. We want to service that. We want to get it back to Teddy so that he can take that fishing again. When I work on some reels I haven't worked on in a while, this is one that I haven't worked on, I always like to pull the schematic for the reel. They're out there on the internet. There's a site out there that's very good about providing a lot of them, and that is a site called reelschematic.com. And if you just put in your search bar on your browser, if you just put in this case I put in Daiwa Saltist 20H reel schematic, the search results will usually bring some up for you. You can find reel schematics on that site, reelschematic.com. You can also find it on manufacturers' websites. And some of the older stuff you can find if you belong to ORCA, the Old Reel Collectors Association. Well, some of the old stuff you can find the schematics there. Rick just had asked me about finding him a schematic for an older reel, a Ryobi reel, and surprisingly it was there. Well, this is kind of interesting. We have a Daiwa Saltist reel with a pen tension cap on it. Well, I guess it works. So I haven't seen that before, but now I'll put that into my kit bag, and I'll know that, well, if you're stuck, maybe, just maybe, you can use that as a substitute. We're going to start by removing the pieces and parts on the exterior. While I do that, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. By now you've heard enough to understand whether you have an interest in this. If you do like servicing reels, if you like learning about fishing reels, if you like seeing how they're made, and if you do want to see something like this on a more frequent basis, then please subscribe to my channel. The whole goal here is to teach you how to do it yourself, using my years of experience to show you the way I do it. And well, if it helps you to keep your reels fishing, giving them a second chance, that's kind of what the channel is about. Well, I've just taken off the retaining screw, the nut cap. Surprisingly, the nut cap uses the same wrench that the pen uses for those scallop nuts. So maybe there is something about all of that. Remove the handle. When I remove my pieces and parts, particularly the small ones, I like to put them into a parts tray. In this case, it's a fast food container. It's been so for a while. And I also like to encourage you to take pictures. So, for example, a picture will tell you there's a wide spacer here between the star adjuster and the handle. So as you go ahead and remove that, if one of those comes apart, you'll know where it goes. Pictures are great reference points in addition to that schematic, which is the burst diagram for the reel. Okay, taking that off, dirt under here. Again, we're trying to figure out what the cause is for the free spool not releasing all of the way. All right, that goes into my parts tray. And then here's another place where you would like to take a picture. This is your noisemaker that you heard before. When you take this out, you want to notice that the spring clip is facing up. The flat side of this assembly here is facing down. Also appears to be a little washer in there. I think that's getting stuck in the threads right now. One of the things I don't like about this is that it's kind of a sharp edge. Just keep working and eventually you'll get that off. Notice that the kind of looks like a little bit of a boat or something, but the spring, the open piece is towards the top. Then we should have a couple of tension washers here. We got one. Sometimes you can just kind of tap them out. Sometimes you need to get something a little deeper there. These are coned. They're convex or concave. There's 2 of them. They go into my parts tray. And there's a little washer that's often overlooked, but if you find one of those on your table as you're servicing the reel, then you'll know that goes under those 2 coned ones. It's a bearing shield washer for here. That's all you need to remove on this side. Next up, we'll take the 4 case screws out. And it's been a while on this reel, so after I take the first one, I'm going to take a look here. See what we got going. That goes into my tray. I wanted to look back here to see if there was any on that side. There isn't. Some of them do. For example, I think the Penn Squall, for example, is one of those that has screws on the back side of that. Just pay attention. Last thing you want to do is think you've got them all, start trying to wedge something off in terms of trying to remove the side plate, only to find out that you didn't have them all. While I'm putting these into my parts tray, I'm also comparing to make sure that all of those screws are the same size. If they're not the same size, you need to identify where the smaller or the longer or the wider or the narrower screw went. Now, it doesn't happen that much on conventional reels. It happens from time to time. Sometimes the manufacturers just out of space in a particular part of the reel that needs a screw, and they substitute something else. So just pay attention to that. On spinning reels, it's much more common to find several different types of screws in the side plate. Those 4 are all the same. But we checked underneath, it isn't there. We should be able to just pull the side plate off now. Okay, well, if there's a question about why this thing is having trouble free spooling, I think the initial observation here would be dirt. I'm seeing 2 things here that concern me. The first one is the dirt. The second one is the spring is off the case. And I'm going to go back to my schematics. We're going to check this out and we'll make sure that everything is right there. But one spring, the spring on this side, appears to have been off of the post. Well, if you don't have good pressure pushing it back in, the reel will fail. And sometimes it's the same with the help going out. Well, we've got the typical mess here. This is what I call cleanup in aisle 7. We want to remove some of this stuff so that we can do a better job of this. Whoever used it the last time probably thought more grease equals better performance. That's not always the case. And we'll take a moment here just to remove the other pieces. Again, just keep pulling on it eventually. Well, there's one. Sometimes you have to walk them out one by one. Sometimes you can get the whole assembly out. Kind of fickle. This one, for whatever reason, just wants to not play nice at the moment. Usually means that one of them is stuck in here. I'm not sure what's sticking, but we'll get it out. We always do. I guess it's that last metal washer that doesn't want to give up the ghost. I'm going to slide the main gear back. I'm going to grab a little flat pliers. And that's usually because the washer gets pushed down a little too hard. And when it gets pushed down, well, it becomes problematic. This one came off, but there's an anti-reverse dog under here. It makes me wonder if the backup system to this wasn't working. You have an anti-reverse clutch, which is your primary anti-reverse. This is your secondary, and I didn't see it on here at all, which means at some point it was either misinstalled on the way back in, maybe when they were globbing all that grease on, or at another point, but that belongs on here, and I didn't see it on here as we did that. Again, pictures are a good place before we go much further. I'm going to take these 3 pieces and put them in my parts tray. the drag stack. I'm just going to kind of gather them up for now, and for the collar as well. One more piece or two more pieces to remove on this side. The first one, this is why it's having trouble with the free spool. It's just dry, dirty grease clogging everything, and that it can't release properly. It's grabbing the shaft of the spool. It's not coming out all the way. That and my thinking that the issue here was with the spring not being on the post properly will be enough to give me cause that that was the issue and that this issue is correctable. Okay, I'm going to take a hard bristle brush. Actually, I'm going to use some penetrating oil on this because there's just so much old loose grease there. These reels, very popular since the time they came out. I guess they've been replaced now by the Saltigas, this is the Saltist. The Saltiga came next. Those are also beautiful reels. These are very durable, nicely designed reels. When you take this off, notice that there's two sides to this. There is one that has a minor ramp in it. That's the one that's going to face to the spool side of the reel. We can take a moment here, put some grease on this, put some grease onto the pinion gear, and set that aside. Okay, let's just pull the other piece here, which is this jack. Again, there's just a whole bunch of dirt and grease and debris, and so much of fishing reel service and service in particular, but repair as well. It's cleaning, it's looking at the pieces and parts to make sure that they're all in good condition. It's replacing those that are worn or broken, and then it's reassembling the reel. Okay, we have the jack assembly there, and now I just want to use a spray to clean up the inner part of this. You're going to notice here that we cannot get to the spool from this side. And I'm sure there's dirt and debris and junk and everything else that Roger would include in his thesaurus for just bad practice here. All of that has got to come out so that the reel can operate efficiently. I use Q-tips, and yes, it's a Q-tip, so Q-tip police don't have to come after me. They're actually Q-tips. As the extended cleaning mechanism here, I actually like them. They don't break off as much as some of these dollar store varieties. But get that all cleaned up. And when you're satisfied that you've got the dirt and grease and debris cleaned up, we can kind of backpedal now and put it back together again. I'm going to take the last part off that came off, the jack, put a light coating of grease onto the back of that, and install that. Then we can take our pinion gear. The pinion gear is going to go over the posts and then seat down. Pull that jack up all the way. When we get over here, we're going to notice there's a stud on this one that we're going to want to align with the hole here. So I like to bring that all the way up. And we can take care on this main gear. There's one more washer that's still in here. These are Carbon Tex washers, so you can do one or two things with this. You can either grease them lightly, or you can run them dry. These have been greased before, so let's use a little bit of grease. Cleaning up the inside of the main gear is a good time to mention to you that if you have a question on any reel, maybe you have a question on this one, maybe you're interested in how it's used, when it was made, a little bit more about the Daiwa Corporation, those kinds of things, you can leave those questions in the comment section, And you can leave a question on any other reel in the same comment section. You don't need to search for the video for that particular reel to ask a question. So maybe you have a different reel, maybe you're working on it and you're stuck, or maybe you just want to know a little bit more about the reel history and the like. Just leave that in the comment section. I will try to answer that for you. There is a washer on the back end of this one. Actually, it's a metal plate. It's not even a washer. How do you like that? My bad, as they say. Bring that main gear over. Oh, that's why we got it. Silly me. All right, we're back here with that anti-reverse dog with the split fork. It's going to ride this way, and it's got a square, so the square has got a mount here. Make sure when you bring the post down. Now this is how it will work. When you're riding the reel, it's fine. When you backpedal, oh, we got to compress the teeth there. That's what happens. So somebody, the last service around, these teeth are too wide right now, and they don't even require much. Just a little pinch to bring them back in. Once you restore tension to that finger joint or finger spring, bring the assembly over. Make sure that the dog lands on top of that stud. Make sure that the post is square to that. Yeah, that's how it should be working now. See how it works back and forth on the eccentric? Perfect. Next up then we have that washer. Then we can install the main gear. We've greased that. Merge that with the pinion gear. And these washers for the drag stack now, they're carbon tacks. You can choose to grease them or not grease them. I'm going to choose to grease them. Clean the three up. You're going to notice a couple of things here with them. One is that one of these round washers with the rectangle is thicker than the other. The thick one belongs up top. The middle washer has 2 points on it. Those are called eared washers. And the eared washer goes in the middle of the stack. I'm going to use my glove to spread some grease on there. You need to see the cross hatching on the drag washers, on these types of drag washers, if you're putting the grease on. Well, this is the same guy we had trouble getting off. There we go. That's better, but I can understand why that was hard. I'm using a regular drag grease for this, called Cal's Universal Drag Grease. You don't need to use that. If you get too much on, wipe it off a little bit with the paper towel, but you need to see the cross hatching. Middle washer has the studs. They fall into the gap in the main gear. There's a slot on each side that you want to use. Set that. If you don't put it into the slot, your drag stack will not work properly. The thick one goes up top. And then there's actually 2 sides to this little cap here. It's the spacer for your anti-reverse. This is the side that has the wider indentation in it. That goes down below. Just like that. Okay, that side is done with the exception of the 2 springs. Got a little washer here for the spring washer. That goes on the post. All right, we're going to come over here now. We're going to try and deal with this mess. Now I have to be careful here because you don't want grease on that anti-reverse clutch. So where I was using a lot of sprays and cleaners and the like below, I'm going to try and do as much of this as I can without using kind of a solvent or something. That anti-reverse clutch is a friction-driven device. Oil is going to reduce friction, so again, not a good idea. I'm going to use the penetrating oil on the outside, and I'll keep the case tilted low here so that when I do this, I'm not kind of splashing it all over that anti-reverse clutch. I don't know why all this grease wound up here, but it did, and I think we're going to call that the reason for the failure, to get that free spool working the way it should. It's just when grease gets old, it gets sticky. When it gets sticky, well, things bog down in performance. How many of us have seen old reels that we've purchased, trying to do a restoration on them, and the reel hardly turns because the grease just dried up and became more like a cement. Okay, I think we did a pretty good job there. I'm thinking this is a bearing, but it could be a bushing. I'm going to put some oil in that. That's kind of a no harm, no foul sort of a thing there. Get rid of that old paper towel. Bring one back, and let's just do the best we can with one final shot here. This is the outer bearing for the reel. All right, I think we did about as good as we're going to get here. You can take the cotton swab and run it into that anti-reverse clutch, like I'm doing here, get the surplus grease off of that. Yeah, just wanted to check that that was where the bearing went. I have that schematic, and if I need to, we could use that. Well, this seems to work. We'll call it a hybrid. Well, I think the other piece that I was wondering about here was that this spring was not on the post. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back on the post. Kind of odd that it seems like that should sit a little bit higher, but I just noticed as I did this that I don't have that quite the way I want it. So. Okay, this looks much better. Let's take our springs and install them. Again, we have this jack all the way up here so that when it's time to install, we'll move the stud up on this side. And now we should just be able to put this on straight in. Hold the tension on the side plate. Move that just a little bit. You heard that click. Make sure that we have a nice tight seam all the way around. And then we can get our side plate screws to put in. There are 4 of them. They are flat-bladed screws. Get your driver that you started with. Oftentimes I'm asked, can you use a mechanical screwdriver to take out and put screws in? My preference is that you use hand tools. My understanding, of course, is that some folks have weak hands or arthritis or what have you, and it's a little bit more difficult. So my compromise would be use that mechanical screwdriver to put it in most of the way. Leave it a little bit short of fully tightened, and then go in and use your driver to tighten up that last little piece. I tighten these in a kind of an opposing pattern. I go up top and down low, and then left side, right side. That keeps the tension on the case equalized. Okay, one more, and you can see why I guess some folks would say my hands get tired. Mine do too. Well, we want to set up the drag system now. Okay, all good. Next up then is the bearing. Then we had that little washer that we said you may or may not have paid attention to. That goes on top as a bearing shield. Then we have the two cupped washers or tension washers. I like to put the cup facing up on the first one, down on the second one. These control the tension on the star adjuster itself. And we have that little boat-shaped device that is our click mechanism. This may take a minute to get set. There we go. Then we can take our star adjuster. Remember, you got a spacer in here. You also have a little washer here that's going to go inside. Sometimes they stick to the back. Just know that it is there. Hand thread your star adjuster. Don't force anything. You need to make sure it goes on square and even and easy. If it's not turning easy, it's going to be cross stripping. So just take your time. Now you can see the little spacer better. It just got knocked out there. Okay, spacer is in there. The handle is next. Handle cap. Hand thread the handle cap just like you did with the star adjuster. Then tighten your star adjuster down. You don't want to trap that when you tighten the handle nut. Again, a pen wrench fits this, so you got a pen wrench fits this. You got a pen side tensioner cap that seems to fit there. Interesting. This is the tie-down screw now. Just doesn't want to go back in. Just be patient. Eventually you will get it. Only one more thing to do now. This is a Levelwind reel, so we do need to service the pole. To service the pole, you want to remove the side plate screws, which I've gone ahead and done. Remove the side plate. Clean up the side plate if anything's required back there. This one's clean, surprisingly, given that the other side of it was so dirty. And then there's a screw here holding the bar, which is preventing that cap from coming out. So you're going to want to take a Phillips head screwdriver, remove the screw, and we can remove that bar. At least pull it out far enough that you can clear your nut cap. While we're at it, we're also going to take this spool out. The reason for that, remember what we said, we had a whole bunch of old, dirty, dried grease junk. Well, you can see it's all over the spool as well. So we want to clear all of that out while we have the opportunity. And we can put a little bit of grease onto the shaft. Hold your line so that it doesn't trap on the inbound side, which you just did, of course. Make sure you're clear there. Okay. You can move your line guide to the point where you have clearance to bring a screwdriver in. Get the right screwdriver for the slot. And remove that cap. With the cap done, Generally you can tap and bring out that pawl. Sometimes it's a little harder. There's a little washer in the middle of that cup. Get rid of that. Not get rid of it. When the vibration gives it enough that you can grab it with the pliers or something, grab it and pull it out. And this is why you want to service a pawl. Look at all the dirt and debris on the shoulder of that pawl. It's just totally loaded with, well, everything else we've seen in this reel, just a lot of old grease and dirt. My guess is whoever serviced the reel the last time did not service the pawl. Lots of dirt. Okay, once that's clean, we can reinstall. That's better. That's how it should look, nice and clean. Check the teeth on both sides of this. Make sure that they're equal. You can place that back inside the carrier. All of that would be impossible to do if you didn't move that bar. A drop of oil as it's going in. Hold down on it and turn so that you can seat the pawl. And once you have enough of a groove there, go back and get that little washer. On the end of my stick here. Put that inside before you put the cap back on. And take caution here that this sets properly. Bring your bar back in. Put the tie-down screw back in. So we found a lot of things going on with this reel. Over grease, dirty grease, the pawl that hasn't been serviced, and some other issues here. Probably a spring that was not set properly, probably a anti-reverse dog, backup dog, that was also not set properly. That's enough to concern yourself with. All right, want to set the side plate back in. We'll put the 3 screws on and we'll give it a test. So this is a full service now of a Saltist 20H, and it's a service that included, well, taking care of some issues that the customers had with it. And well, we were able to show you the complete take-apart service and reinstall of those pieces and parts. And I trust that we will have a free spool that just hums along now, rather than the one that was kind of choked up there. We'll see. Only moments away. Okay, the last thing I want to do is put a little bit of grease onto the worm gear itself, or oil actually on that worm gear. Let's give it a test. So we're in drive mode now. Oh boy, what a difference already. It's free and easy and turns about as smooth as you could possibly want it to do. Here's the important part. How about that free spool? Well, how about that? Turns nice and free and easy. We can adjust with that pen adjuster there. Let's go back into gear. That one's a champ. So that's what we have. We have the Daiwa Saltist 20H Levelwind fishing reel. How to totally take it apart, service it, clean it, give it a second chance to go fishing. I hope you've enjoyed that. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, thanking our first responders, police, fire, EMT, essential personnel. Thank you for all it is that you do and the career choices that you've made to dedicate your life, career work to public safety. To everyone, well, now's no better time to take care of your fishing equipment. It's the off season for most of us. It's a great time to spend servicing, repairing, and getting ready for the spring run. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, if you like these types of videos, please subscribe. If you do subscribe, please use that notification button. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.